I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
We are here live on a bittersweet Friday on the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Maddie Lassiter, and for the last time, live in studio, Weldon Braxton. He's moving on to bigger and better things. We're happy for him, but we're sad we're going to be missing out on all the sports knowledge that comes from this direction. My left ear is just so used to hearing wonderful sports knowledge that now that Weldon's going to Minnesota to get some college football experience, it's going to be different. But we're glad to have him along. We're glad to have you here today. And we're going to make it worth it, Weldon. This is the last show, but we're going to knock it out of the park today.
Well, this is the fourth quarter. I mean, this is it right here. I mean, this is what, it's just any other play, Mark. And today it's going to be any other show. We're going to come in, we're going to hit it out of the park. We're not going to put any special cake and icing on it. We're just going to do it the way we know how to do it. And we do have a lot going on today. College football top 25 poll is out. Arkansas did receive a vote, and Brett Bielema is a voter. Those are the only two things we know, so you can take from it what you will. In the NFL, questions Cam Newton's GM. Does he not have all the confidence in the world in his franchise quarterback? Also a new Pro Bowl format. I want to look at some Razorbacks, Mark, in the NFL, some young guys. Of course, you have the rookie class, Tyler Wilson, Kobe Hamilton and company, and then those second-year guys, the Joe Adams, the Jarius Wrights of the world. We'll see what they're up to in training camp. And, Mark, I know we're not going to talk a ton of golf on here, but do want to acknowledge in the Women's British Open, former Razorbacks, Stacey Lewis at 5 under. She's 4 shots off the lead, so she's playing well. So we got a big show today.
We definitely have a whole lot of stuff to talk about. You mentioned talking Razorbacks, and there is plenty of stuff that we need to get to. Let's start real quickly with our Peters Family Living local sports look. We've talked about Michael Perry being at point guard. You have seen some tweets that he's sent out and some pictures. He's having himself a good time learning from the best there in North Carolina. And also found out last night, it's a little bit of breaking news for those that don't know, former Russellville Cyclone and Arkansas Razorback Corliss Williamson, who is now was the head coach at UCA for 3 years, is taking a job as assistant coach with the Sacramento Kings. He is resigning his post at UCA, going to go back to Sacramento. He sort of talked about how he cut his teeth in the NBA with Sacramento, played half his career there.
Right.
He felt like that was – and now people always say this. It was one of the only jobs that I would leave for. But an assistant coach, an assistant coach with Sacramento sort of fits for him, makes sense.
It does make sense, and you look at Corliss and what he was doing at UCA. It's from a philosophy standpoint. A lot of old Razorback fans, they know he played for Coach Richardson, so they were looking for UCA to be, a 40 minutes of intense pressure defense type basketball team. And they really weren't. And that was sort of a head scratcher to people who watched UCA basketball. But, Mark, as you mentioned, Corliss, an NBA guy, sort of gave UCA an NBA-type flavor, which lets you know that's sort of where his mind and where his heart was anyway. UCA, it's a tough situation. I'm going to just call it what it is. Of course, transition into Division I basketball. The football program already had momentum. They were one of the better Division II teams, so that transition's been pretty easy for them. They're already, at least scoring points on SEC caliber teams. Basketball, the program, even at the Division II level, wasn't that great. Now you're trying to transition into Division I. You knew it was a challenge. I think Corliss gave it 3 solid years. I think he's ready to pursue his career in the NBA now. And
he can, if nothing else, he can gain some knowledge to further his career. And I mean, I'm assuming he wants to be a head coach somewhere,
right?
Whether it's the NBA or back at a even bigger Division I college basketball team. So we wish Corliss the best of luck. A lot of folks around this neck of the woods, this is where he went to high school. So everybody in Arkansas is following his career with a lot of attention.
Yeah. Like I said, I was really glad to hear. I think it's a great situation for him. Of course, you look at the UCA basketball program, what they may do at head coach. I think it's important that they get somebody who is going to be willing to accept the challenge of elevating this program in that Southland Conference, maybe get them to push for an NCAA tournament bid. I thought this year they did some things in basketball as far as competing in the conference tournament that they hadn't been able to do in a long time or really ever before at this level. So things are going where they need to be, but they still have work to do at UCA.
And speaking of UCA, I was told, and this is before Coach Williamson decided to go to Sacramento, that he was most likely not going to be back this next season. Didn't know what was going to happen or whether he was going to go somewhere else or not. And then I was told by that same person that former Arkansas Tech coach Mark Downey was very interested in that job. Well, he left Arkansas Tech to go to Charleston,
right,
his alma mater. And as he goes back to his alma mater, people think, well, he's going to be there until he gets a huge Division I job, and that UCA job could be a stepping stone into what he would like to think. But found out yesterday that he just signed last week with West Alabama. So he's going to be the head coach at West Alabama unless he drops them before he really starts and decides to come to UCA. I don't see that happening, but UCA fans retweeted where I said that Mark Downey wanted that job. That was before I knew that he had signed with West Alabama. I was just going on, I saw Coach Williamson was leaving, and I heard in my head, hey, remember that person who told you that Downey wanted that job? Well, didn't know that Downey had another job already, so it's interesting.
That's a little bit surprising to me, West Alabama. Of course, pay-wise and situation, you never know what the circumstances are, but you would think that the next progression would be a job like a UCA. Certainly, I'm a big fan of Coach Downey as far as what he's done on the floor. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we all love Arkansas Tech in this room, but prior to him getting there, it wasn't nothing you exactly beat the door down to go and watch. And now Tucker Coliseum is having full nights at least a few times a season, always good crowds there. Of course, Coach K is now taking over, and he's carried on the same pattern. So Coach Downey is somebody who can definitely be looked at for a UCA-type job.
Yeah, I wonder if he would leave West Alabama already. Of course, like I said, I didn't even know he had taken the job there, so it's kind of interesting that he decided to throw his hat in the ring there. Maybe he didn't think that the UCA job was going to come open, or maybe he just thought that West Alabama was. I mean, traditionally, though, I've not heard much about West Alabama basketball, so I don't know. But he was named July 19th as the new head basketball coach. Yeah. If he left, it'd be 2 weeks after he took the job.
It would be 2 weeks, and I've got West Alabama up. I was pretty sure they were still Division II, and they are. I was thinking, well, if they moved up to D1, he may be ushering them into Division I, which may be sort of a unique opportunity, but they're still Division II, and he's going to be back in the Gulf South Conference. Of course, he's familiar with the Gulf South and those teams in that deep South area. Of course, Arkansas Tech no longer in that league, but he'll be coaching in a familiar area, and that'll be interesting. So maybe look into that to see some of the backgrounds of that move.
Yeah, he's looking at Coach Downey's resume. It looks like you know that Coach Downey was a very good recruiter, and he recruited that area, that southeast area, very, very well. You got guys like Renard Allen you find in a park game, 30 years old playing, and then you get him to come to Arkansas Tech, and he's an All-American. So he knows how to find talent and recruit, and he's also a very good coach, like you said. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there at West Alabama. And maybe he's one of the UCA targets. Maybe they got somebody else in mind. I know they're going to go in the interim with they've mentioned their assistant coach that was Coach Williamson's assistant is going to take over as an interim this year, and then they'll search next year because it's so close to school beginning and things like that.
Period,
it is sort of an odd spot there that UCA is in. Also found out that Mountain Home had projected, or not projected, but had presented to the AAA, the Arkansas Activities Association, a plan to combine the 5 and 6A schools in sports so that Mountain Home, really it was for several schools, but Mountain Home would be the beneficiary of not having to travel so much. And that's part of why there are 7A, 7 classes now, and part of the reason that they do the regional tournaments and things like that, the reason that they've aligned the conferences the way they have is because of travel. But they voted on whether or not to take the 5 and 6A and put them together, when before they've had the 6 and 7A together. The AAA voters voted that down 98 to 59 against. So that's not going to happen. But, Weldon, that's an interesting conversation nonetheless.
It is, and I'm just looking at some numbers now. You look at if that proposal that went through, you look at some of the numbers here, and of course you take out the private schools because they're on a different scale as far as their enrollment. But Morrilton at 494 students, students. They're one of the bottom as far as popular enrollment in Class 5A. And then you look at Russellville, who's at the top of Class 6A, 1,147 kids. So you're looking at nearly 1,000 kid difference as far as of overall enrollment and competing in the same classification roughly. Now, one thing AAA has done is they've combined 6 and 7A, although they compete for different championships. They're combined as far as their conference affiliation because of travel. So, you can have schools in Class 6A and Class 7A compete against each other in conference because of the proximity is closer. But then when it comes time to actually compete for championships, they split it up for competitive reasons, and that's a little bit more understandable. This proposal, I just think there's too broad of a stroke. There's too wide of a gap as far as the bottom of 5A and the top of 6A to really be considered.
Well, we don't have a whole lot more in I almost said Arkansas Tech news, because that's basically all that's been going on recently is some Arkansas Tech news and some local sports camps and things like that. I do know that if you go to the athletics.atu.edu page, they've got a countdown going. 33 days, 12 hours, 46 minutes, and wait for it, 50 seconds until football season starts and a new era begins, the Raymond Monica era there at Arkansas Tech. Do need to pass along our condolences like we did Wednesday to the family of Coach Don Dempsey, former Arkansas Tech All-American student-athlete, distinguished alumnus, former coach and faculty member. He died Monday at age of 83, so we needed to pass along our condolences to them and the Arkansas Tech family. A lot of folks put out a lot of information, sending it to us when we posted his obituary, that he was a very well respected and well-liked man. And, again, our condolences, prayers go to the family and friends.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And, again, as I said the other day, it gives us a chance to take a little bit of a history lesson, look at Arkansas Tech and some things. And, of course, those stories are best told through the people who actually took part in those events. So, as you said, Mark, we do extend our condolences to his family.
Well, we're going to take a break, step away for just one moment. When we come back, we're going to look at how one word could potentially ruin a career.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville, online at petersfamilyliving.com, or call 479-968-2929. Set your sights on savings right now at Honda of Russellville. We're offering our best deals of the year on remaining 2012 Honda ATVs, plus special introductory offers on select new 2013 Honda ATVs, all with zero down and easy monthly payments with approved credit. Be sure to check out the all-new Honda Foreman 4x4, now stronger, smarter, and harder working. How about a side-by-side? Well, Honda's got you covered with the Big Red. Honda's Big Red offers a proven Honda engine, automotive-style Honda automatic transmission with no belts to slip or break. Come in for a test ride today at Arkansas's legendary Honda dealer, Honda of Russellville.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Welcome back into the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Matty Lassiter in the RiverValleyLeader.com studios. Riley Cooper, if you hadn't heard, he let a bad word slip out of his mouth at a concert a couple weeks ago. I say a couple weeks ago. It came out this week. A very racially insensitive word that a lot of people could, without me having to say it,
right,
insinuate and understand exactly what I'm saying. It's that word, that very buzzworthy word that gets a lot of folks in trouble. Riley Cooper, on an NFL roster with the Philadelphia Eagles, got a lot of African-American teammates, alienated a lot of them. Now he's being fined. Breaking news across the wire right now that he is being excused from all team activities to seek counseling. This comes on the heels of yesterday when, ESPN's got all these guys at Eagles camp, and they say that, on the sideline after a play, he'd come off and he'd be standing there by himself.
Yeah.
And they ask, guys like Michael Vick and players like LaShawn McCoy what they think about it, and they're shocked and appalled. And one person even said, We're hurt by this. There are people in there that are hurting. And my thought was just that it's kind of ridiculous. But before I get to my thoughts, let's let Weldon have his tee it up for you, and you just knock it out the park.
There's a lot of layers to this. First of all, I do want to be clear about something first and foremost before I get into my answer. The notion that what Riley Cooper said was a mistake should be thrown out and disregarded. That's the part I can't agree. I disagree with wholeheartedly. A mistake is when you do something in an isolated situation that's outside your character. I've always felt that anytime you have a racial, be it a slur or any type of derogatory statement, that's something that's a part of you. That's not a mistake when something like that comes out. That's something that you have in you every day. It's habitual. I don't consider that a mistake. That's a part of you. That's number one. But, Mark, I look at this like we talked about the Tiger Woods, Sergio Garcia situation about a month ago or so. And I said this then, I'll say it now. I know that I deal with, and don't take offense to this, and anybody, my coworkers, and nobody take offense to this. I'm speaking in total general terms. I know that friends and people I deal with on a daily basis, people that I like, people that I'm close to, I am fully aware that probably behind closed doors or when they're in comfortable circles, they probably say some of these things. They may not drop an N-word or anything, but they probably say, stereotypical things, because a lot of groups do. When you're amongst people that you feel you're relaxed, you can say, well, that group, they're lazy, or that group can't drive, or that group is only good at math tests. We all know the stereotypes. I don't have to assign the labels. And I'm sure I deal with people every day who have those feelings. I consider them good people and good friends. I don't have anything against them, but I'm sure they say and do those things. It's not a problem with me. It's part of being human. I did see your post yesterday about your sort of improv poll question. I was about to comment on it, but then I was out of pocket all day. I'm moving. I'm doing a lot of things. I wanted to make sure I was up on the story before I commented on it. And then that's when I found out that Riley Cooper had been fined by the Philadelphia Eagles. So that kind of readjusted my position. Overall, I don't believe that, or my position is I'm disappointed in the reaction by Roger Goodell. Not because I'm offended or not because what he said deserves him being kicked out of the league or anything, but based on the precedent that he's established. This is a commissioner who he has suspended people, he has fined people, he has lit up people severely for not even being convicted. Just because you were in a situation that was embarrassing to the league, he has put you on blast and just punished you severely just because that's not good for the image of the league. We know he's image conscious. And for him to say, you know what, I think we've done enough. Now, the key to this market, before I turn it over to you, is I don't know what that fine was. They may have taken 50% of his salary and just destroyed his bank account. I don't know. Or they may have fined him just a couple thousand. And that's a big deal because I don't know. If they fined him a lot, then sure, I can understand Goodell's doing nothing. But if that fine wasn't severe, I'm a little disappointed based on the precedent, not so much my emotion.
That's such a good point because, you can take the angle. Man, we don't need to get into the whole Trayvon Martin situation where people were, it seemed like it was a lot of black versus white type stuff. But when you talk about just the league and what Roger Goodell has done, Pac-Man Jones being part of bad stuff, well, you're banned for a year or 6 months or whatever, 6 games, 8 games, whatever it is. He has done a whole lot of work to preserve that image, like you said, and that's a very good point, that the image part and what Roger Goodell will do or has done has to be taken into consideration. I asked yesterday regarding this situation. I went to high school with a lot of black folks. I've got a lot of black friends, played basketball growing up, and stereotypically who's good at basketball. So I asked the question yesterday. What do you think? What do you think about the punishment? What type of punishment do you think he should have been issued? I've seen a couple different ones. One, the punishment was all right. And I've seen somebody say, well, he shouldn't be punished at all. If we start punishing people for the things that they say that are offensive, we're just going to be working overtime to try to, okay, well, he said something I don't like. So he's, so. And then I saw one of my friends, Dexter May, he said, the fine is good and all. It doesn't mean he won't pay on the field with all the other players that aren't so quick to forgive as well, though, because a lot of them are going to think he's just saying he's sorry because he got caught on film. I feel like that's where he's going to get his payback is in the locker room and on the sideline. My thought is, or on the field. My thought here, though, on this is, with the Eagles in general, the fact that they're talking about, we're hurting. Guys, you're adults. Get over it. He didn't say something. He didn't come up and stab a teammate in the locker room. He didn't throw a teammate under the bus literally throw a teammate under the bus in the media or anything like that. He wasn't attacking anybody specifically. He did something stupid, and it happens all the time. So I'm not saying that I'm going to give him a pass for it, but I'm saying somebody has got to be the leader for the Eagles in the locker room. Somebody's got to step up and say, all right, this is, it's bad, it's stupid. We've got to get over it. We can't talk about how bad we're hurting in the locker room because somebody said a word. It just... To me, it's ridiculous that these guys they would hurt about it. I understand where LaShawn McCoy's coming from when he says,
right.
I don't know that I can respect a guy like that because, like you said, it's something that's in him. It's not something that just came out. It's something that's in him every day. I liked what Michael Vick sort of said, but then he went a little further than I liked when he said something about how I don't know, we're hurting, things like that.
Yeah.
It seems like they just need to grow up a little bit. Now I know I don't have to worry about the racist stuff happening to me as much. So I can't pretend that I understand and that I've been in that situation, but it seems to me like guys just grow up.
And Michael Vick's interesting in his answer because you're watching what he says because, Michael, are you going to be too hard on him? You went through some stuff with forgiveness, so his answer was interesting. Yeah, I have to say this. I think one of the points was that you read was, well, if we start punishing people for things people say, it's like a wild goose chase. And I get that, but you have to understand, this isn't the 1970s where nothing's on camera and you can say, I'm sure people we look at and revere today probably said some awful stuff back then. We just didn't get it on camera.
Yeah.
You have to know you live in the information age and that stuff can get out. So that would be my point to that. But I'm going to say this because, as a black person, I feel like I need to say this to my people. We can't allow this word or these things to hold us hostage. And by that, I mean we can't expend all our energy every time we hear this word just because it's held us captive. Yes, we know it's offensive. Yes, we know the historical roots of it, or you should know the historical roots of it if you don't. But at the same time, we have to rise above it. We have to understand there are people who are at a lower level who think that way, who are, to be honest, quite ignorant about it, and we just have to be above it. We shouldn't allow our emotions, we shouldn't allow us to be held down and bring ourselves down just because of this word. I'm tired of it holding us captive and, he said that word and I can't even function with the rest of my day. I'm sorry. Forget about them. They're ignorant. We got to rise above it. I think it's time for us to quit being held captive by that word.
That's a good point. Let's move on in the NFL. Found out yesterday, or I guess maybe it was Wednesday afternoon after we left the show, about the Pro Bowl and the way that they're going to restructure the Pro Bowl because the last few years it might have well been powder puff, play with flags on because nobody's trying. And I figured for several years that was kind of coming because, there's not really any incentive. Yes, it's an honor and a reward for players to be voted as Pro Bowlers and to get to go play in this all-star game, but it's at the end of the season. A lot of guys are hurt.
Right.
A lot of guys, some of the best players in the world aren't there because they played in the Super Bowl. So it's just kind of, to me, it's been a watered-down thing. Now they're going to shake it up a little bit. The one question that I had, and I saw Chris Mortensen made reference to this yesterday, was, now we've talked about how so-and-so's a 10-time Pro Bowler. And really, what's that mean now? Because you've got players who are going to pick the teams,
right,
and it's going to be sort of like a backyard, schoolyard game. There are a couple different questions that need to be answered about this.
That's interesting, Mark. Now, maybe you already know this based on what you said, but I was under the impression, I could be wrong, that the Pro Bowlers are still picked, but they're just put in a pool. So you're saying there's just the captains that are voted or picked, and then they can pick anybody in the league they want.
No, I mean, you may be right with that, but it's just the whole. There's some details that are going to have to be ironed out about it.
Yeah, I mean, and they're doing the draft type deal, and I guess it'll give it a little more intrigue. There's some players playing together that you may never see. For instance, Peyton Manning and Larry Fitzgerald. Obviously, Fitzgerald being in the NFC his whole career, Peyton being in the AFC his whole career. They've never thrown balls to each other in a game setting. Things like that will be interesting to watch. I know they've changed some things rule-wise. I think some of the coverages, they're allowing a little bit more as far as what you can do coverage-wise. The clock, I think the clock's going to be a little more fluid in certain situations, more of a running clock. And I think that's a part of it as well because, even a regular football game that doesn't have a lot of sizzle, especially if teams are throwing the ball a lot and it's boring because the clock keeps stopping and they're throwing incompletions because they're terrible, that's hard to watch. So I think in this setting, you got a clock moving. The game was probably never going to get dull. It's a step. I'm not saying it's going to be the best all-star game in sports, but at least there's some effort there.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people who just basically calling it a joke. I mean, don't like where the idea is going and how it's been, but it's been a joke for years. So, I mean, it's basically – I can't even fathom paying money to go watch that. And there are people who go to Hawaii every year to watch the Pro Bowl, pay big money, and take their vacation time to go over there and watch this game, and it hasn't been worth anything.
Yeah, well, if I'm going to the Pro Bowl is the actual game is just going to be cherry on top. If I'm going to Hawaii, I'm going to people's luau. We roasting whole hogs. I'm putting on my lei, and I'm up late at night hanging out, having fun, and then I'll go to the little game. That's how I'm looking at it. But if you go into the Pro Bowl, I can't wait. I'm pushing everything aside. I'm not going to hang out on the beach. I'm just going to the game. You are going to be sorely disappointed.
Well, let's hit some things. Well, let's just hit one thing before we hit the break on the wire. Some NFL news. I hope you hadn't had your fantasy football draft because if you had, you're in bad shape if you've got some guys like the San Francisco 49ers. Now these are defensive individual players, but Chris Culliver out for the season with the torn ACL. This comes on the heels of some other injuries that have taken place across the NFL. Man, this offseason has been rough as far as injuries.
It has been, and it's early in training camp, too. I mean, we saw Jeremy Maclin, Dennis Pitta early in camp, and now we're seeing some more guys. It is really an issue of attrition, Mark, and, I always like to throw a little fantasy nugget at the people out there. And
go for it.
I will say this. Be careful not to overrate replacements. I'm seeing now Ed Dixon is now the greatest tight end on the planet for some reason. He's being regarded. I'm sorry. No, I'm seeing, ironic, before this issue, Riley Cooper is now some magical receiver just because Jeremy Maclin is out. I'm sorry, people. I would just say this. Be careful not to overrate replacements. There's a reason why they weren't the starter in the beginning. Keep that in mind.
Are you taking a shot at Nnamdi Asomugha, or is he going to start on the other side?
Well, I actually wasn't even thinking about Nnamdi, but, that's a good point.
Because you mentioned him before the show.
Well, yeah, Nnamdi's a good player. I think he'll be better than he was in Philadelphia, but, we did see him get exposed a little bit. And you look at what Vic Fangio likes to do defensively. He does like to play a lot of press, but it is press zone, so he won't be in as many one-on-one situations. But, I'm still thinking, for fantasy football, I always try to throw the people some fantasy nuggets without giving away our secrets. We don't like doing that.
I got you.
Like I just said, just do not overrate backups. Ed Dixon is now he's not the equivalent of Jimmy Graham overnight. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, you guys don't take all Weldon's information and don't give him any help because he needs all the help he can get to take me down in fantasy football, right?
Hey, you see this right here? I've got fantasy football rings for all of these.
Those invisible fantasy football rings.
Invisible
hey, I'm gonna have a trophy this year, Weldon. You just hush.
You might.
We've our fantasy football league's going big time. We're putting $10 a piece in a pot, and we're gonna go buy a trophy. We're gonna do this real.
You might collect both leagues, your league and our friend Corey's league. You might collect them both this year.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll have one thing will be solid right here. I'm gonna have a good draft. My team may suck after that, but I'm gonna have a good draft.
And that's all you can do. Yeah, that's all you can do, really.
I'm not the best free agent picker upper in the world, but I don't sit on my computer and just hit refresh all day long waiting like some people I'm sure do. All right, we got to hit a break. When we come back, plenty more. Michael Dyer has found a spot in college football world. Greg Oden, he's going to announce his decision today, and much more.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Lions Den Golf Club is now offering a winter golf special to members and guests alike. Get your cart and greens feet covered for just $20. Take Highway 22 west to Bay Ridge or call 479-229-4162 for Lions Den Golf Club.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Well, the rumors are true. Michael Dyer is not going to be an Arkansas Razorback. Brett Bielema spoke at SEC Media Days and said there will not be a transfer running back coming to the University of Arkansas for the 2013 football season. Michael Dyer is going to Louisville. That's a top 10 team by a lot of accounts. I don't think they're as good, but they just aren't going to play anybody. That's my thing. But Michael Dyer is going to land on his feet at the Division I level at Louisville. He's going to be a Cardinal. Welcome back into the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Matty Lassiter. What do you think about Michael Dyer landing at Louisville?
Well, I like it. I'm happy for him. I hope what we've heard about him as far as him turning his life around and improving. I hope all that holds true. Charlie Strong is one of the strongest leaders in the country, so the structure will be in place. And I think it's a good situation for him. Again, I was on the side of believing he did not belong at the University of Arkansas under what Coach Bielema was trying to do. And, of course, Coach felt the same way. But, every school and every team's a different situation. I think Louisville's a good fit for him. Everybody's like, well, I'm going to feel bad if he leads them to a national championship. I don't. I mean, that doesn't change my perspective whatsoever. I mean, Louisville's a team, as you alluded to, Mark, their schedule is sort of favorable in terms of who they play compared to who some of the SEC teams play. So he might as well have in the national championship game. Arkansas wouldn't go into the national championship game, so I don't know why we'd be mad about that. Overall, though, as far as Michael Dyer is concerned, Mark, I think it's a good fit for him. I hope he stays clean because he can be a pretty high NFL draft pick first couple of rounds if he does keep his head on straight.
Definitely. We've got some Arkansas Razorback-related stuff here in just a little bit in our Hog Talk segment. Weldon, did you have some more NFL stuff? Do you see how my memory goes?
Well, yeah. One thing that was interesting to me, and the networks nationally sort of blew it up, but we didn't get to give our take on it, was the Charlotte Observer was interviewing Carolina Panthers GM, and he essentially asked him, is Cam Newton your franchise quarterback? And let's keep in mind, this GM is new. He did not draft Cam Newton. And the big story was he was asked the question. He paused for a good 7 seconds. I think they timed it, apparently, exactly 7 seconds before saying, yeah, but it's time we start winning. So a little bit of shaky confidence in Cam, Mark. And my take on Cam Newton has always been consistent in that I think he is an extremely gifted athlete and a gifted player. but his body language and his characteristics from an intangible standpoint at a quarterback, they leave something to be desired. And I'm not completely sold on Cam Newton being an elite franchise guy yet. I know he threw for 400 yards his first ever career start, but at the end of his rookie year, he tailed off, had an off year last year. You can blame some of the weapons, but I'm looking at Tolbert, Williams, and Stewart. That's a pretty good trio. Brandon LaFell, Steve Smith, Greg Olsen, one of the better tight ends. It's time for Cam Newton to get it done. I don't think he's out of the woods as far as he's a franchise guy and it's everybody else's fault but his. I think Cam's got some stuff to prove.
No, I think you're exactly right. This year we'll have to tell the tale for him. He started out great. He tailed off. You know, if he can come back up a little bit this year, we'll see where he is. That sophomore slump is something that happens to a lot of people. So if he's able to come back this year and play well, I feel like he'll have a chance. And then it's just all about how you want to build your team. Well, you know, do you want to go the Denver Broncos route and say, all right, that Tebow stuff wasn't working for us. Let's go get a Peyton Manning and prove, you know, this is the way the NFL's gone for years, and this is what we know will work. Or do you want to really sort of be the guinea pig and set this, you know, they would be, in my opinion, the first team to do it this way with the Cam Newton running quarterback type, mobile quarterback type offense to be successful with it for an extended amount of time. So it'd be very interesting to see how well they do. If Cam Newton, I saw a stat the other day that he was hit on 1 of every 4 dropbacks on the season. If he's taking that many hits, he's going to get banged up and hurt. It doesn't matter how big he is.
That's true.
So he's got to stop taking as many hits, and then hopefully this year for Cam Newton in his career, he can step it up because his GM didn't seem like he had the total confidence in him that he might need.
And he needs to quit being a baby. That's the one thing. Quarterbacks don't put their towel over their head and kind of give that all shucks. You know, there's a lot of things I'll take off a receiver, not much, but relatively speaking. I'll take some things off a running back or a receiver. I don't take much off my quarterbacks. There's a certain expectation I have for you, your body language, your leadership. And Cam Newton acts like he's a receiver or a running back the way he pouts and throws fits. I can't have that from my quarterback. He needs to clean that up.
Yeah, that's a Cam Newton thing. He's seemed to be sort of immature at points, so maybe he will grow up a little bit, as they say.
Yeah.
Any other big news and notes that you want to pass along? I'm checking Twitter right now. We're trying to be your breaking news leader here at River Valley.
We're trying to be your breaking news leader, Mark. Again, you're looking through here. Kansas City Chiefs thought that was interesting.
Funny. That was funny.
Yeah, their offensive coordinator, Doug Peterson, they mentioned that he has the best quarterback in the NFL. Like what? We did our quarterback rankings. I didn't have Alex Smith. Mark, you didn't have Alex Smith. Matty, you didn't even do a list, our producer, but I don't think he would have Alex Smith in his list either. And obviously he's wrong. Let's just get that out first and foremost. I think, though, Alex Smith has a chance to be effective, and I think he has a chance to be one of the more effective quarterbacks. And there's a difference between being effective and being one of the best. Andy Reid's a West Coast guy. It's about accuracy. It's about timing. It's about quick decisions. I think Alex Smith can have success in that offense and have not number one, but at least high-level production. But that doesn't mean he's the best. There's a difference between production and actually being the best. And I'm hoping that's where Coach Peterson was going.
Yeah. I feel like that Alex Smith, if I were I wish I could have been the one to stand there in that after practice and ask him what he thinks about his coach calling him the number 1 quarterback in the league. He'd be like, what? He said what? Oh, that's kind of funny. No, he's not the number 1 quarterback in the league. It's not even close. But I do like that his GM stood up for him a little bit there and talked good about him. He's got the tools there, arm strength and accuracy, and a brain. We talked about the Wonderlic score, and he just tore that up. He's been a smart guy his whole career. One of the things that I'm worried about with him, I say worried, I've thought about, he doesn't want to make the mistake, so he'll hold on to the ball too long, and it seems like he's too worried about making the right play every single time.
He's the guy that when you put him in a really good position, he can be your guy. You know, a lot of guys, like the elite quarterbacks, can just take over. And, situations may be different. They may not always see the same thing. They may have to do different things to be successful. Alex Smith is not that guy. You have to play something out for Alex Smith that's detailed and exactly what you want him to do. All right, Alex, this is what you do. This, and this. Don't deviate from it. When you put him in that situation like Jim Harbaugh did, I think he can be successful. Andy Reid's going to be in a similar situation. He's going to say, look, we have Jamal Charles, which is now my version of Brian Westbrook from back in the day. We're going to have Dwayne Bowe. We're going to get the ball out quick. We're not going to ask you to make plays. You're just going to have to fit within the confines of our system, and that's when he can be successful.
All right, let's stay in the NFL for just a minute. You may be like me and Weldon and be interested in how the former Razorbacks are doing at the NFL level. There are several of them that you may not have heard about in a long time. You know, Peyton Hillis just got picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the other day, but there was an article, I think it was on Yahoo, about how just basically drilled him, talking about how he was a cancer in the locker room and all these things about why he hadn't been picked up yet the next day, or even maybe that day he was picked up by the Buccaneers. But may not have heard about what's going on with Niall Davis and Jarius Wright and some of these guys. Is Greg Childs making a return right now from his injuries? And Weldon's got a little bit of information on some of these guys right now.
Yeah, just a quick rundown on a few names, and certainly if you have one in particular that you want to hear about, you can call us up at 968 News, and we'll get you that information. But, of course, former quarterback Tyler Wilson's a guy we're looking at. We know about his early struggles in Raiders camp. Apparently now he's being pushed for the number 2 spot from Terrell Pryor. Of course, that's not good news. But he's let's just say Terrell Pryor is a passer. It leaves some things to be desired. But, with Tyler being a young quarterback, we know what he is cerebrally. We'll see what he can do to pick it up. And then Niall Davis, a former running back. Kansas City's using him in the return game. That's a little bit of a head scratcher. He never returned kicks at Arkansas, and he's battling with Sean Drone for the backup running back spot, and it's not looking good. And then finally, Kobe Hamilton, as far as last year's Hogs, he is impressing. A.J. Green's been nursing. They're being cautious with a little bit of knee injury with A.J. Green, so Kobe's getting reps. He's killing it in red zone drills. Of course, running a lot of crossing routes in college. They like that he goes over the middle, so Kobe's impressing in camp.
I think he's going to be – who do you think is going to be the best Razorback? When we look back 5 years from now, of all the Razorbacks that are in the league right now, who do you think is going to be the best player?
Ooh,
that's a tough one.
That's
right?
a tough one.
I would think Darren McFadden would be up there if he can get out of Oakland.
Yeah, get out of Oakland. Kobe Hamilton's he's a good candidate. I mean, you imagine what he and A.J. Green could do for the next 6, 7, 8 years.
I like Kobe. I've always liked Kobe.
Yeah, so I think he could be Kobe Hamilton.
I think Jarius Wright's probably going to be the safe pick right now, though, because apparently you talked about him just tearing it up, and he's got Wes Welker, Percy Harvin type talent as far as getting in there in the middle. Of course, he's got that deep speed too, so I really like, and he's fearless. I've always liked Jarius Wright too, so I would probably go if Darren McFadden can get out of Oakland and stay healthy, where he can get with a team that knows how to use him. As much as I hate it, if he were in like an Oakland or a Houston. Or not a New England or a Houston, where a team would know how to use him, especially in Houston, like that Oakland or that zone. Right.
Running.
Oh,
I agree.
He could be damaging.
I think that would be more suited to his skill set. But you mentioned Jarius Wright, and Jarius Wright, to me, he had a huge advantage coming into the league, and it's really simple, and it's route running. Jarius Wright, you talk to a lot of people, hear a lot of reports, one of the best route running rookies in the NFL. Playing at Arkansas, that was the huge advantage he had. He was a sensational route runner. We know rookie receivers struggle more than any other rookie position. It seems like they always have a hard time. There was a period where Calvin Johnson may not have been considered a bust, but he was starting to scratch heads in year 2, and he was still looking shaky. Jarius Wright is an accomplished route runner that is really helping him, and he's killing it in Vikings camp. Also, one other report, Jake Beckett is looking good in New England Patriots camp. Nate Solder, remember the young, huge left tackle that they drafted? He's been beating him in one-on-one drills. He's looked good in 11-on-11 drills. So Jake Beckett showing himself well at Patriots camp.
Jake Beckett was going to put in the work and do what it took to be a very good player at whatever level until he decides it's time to retire and go be an attorney. Don't you hate guys like that? No, I actually like guys. I like the fact that he's got the ability to play football at a high level, and he's going to make something of himself. He's going to move back to Arkansas and just be a Razorback hero as far as what he's going to accomplish in his life. Really proud of the legacy that the Beckett family has lent to the University of Arkansas. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got plenty more Hogs stuff to to talk about and discuss in Weldon's last show, last segment. This is the last break of Weldon Braxton's Sports Blitz live career. We'll be back right after this.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville, online at petersfamilyliving.com, or call 479-968-2929. Set your sights on savings right now at Honda of Russellville. We're offering our best deals of the year on remaining 2012 Honda ATVs, plus special introductory offers on select new 2013 Honda ATVs, all with zero down and easy monthly payments with approved credit. Be sure to check out the all-new Honda Foreman 4x4, now stronger, smarter, and harder working. How about a side-by-side? Well, Honda's got you covered with the Big Red. Honda's Big Red offers a proven Honda engine, automotive-style Honda automatic transmission with no belts to slip or break. Come in for a test ride today at Arkansas's legendary Honda dealer, Honda of Russellville.
Lions Den Golf Club is now offering a winter golf special to members and guests alike. Get your cart and greens feet covered for just $20. Take Highway 22 west to Bay Ridge or call 479-229-4162 for Lions Den Golf Club.
Got no time to waste. 13 minutes left in Sports Blitz today. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter back inside the studio. Today's Honda of Russellville poll question we asked in honor of Weldon Braxton's last live in-studio appearance. Whose last game, last season, last moments stick out to you in sports? There's moments that immediately come to mind. Michael Jordan's last moments as a Chicago Bull, as he hits that shot to win the game against the Utah Jazz in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. John Elway winning the Super Bowl and riding off into the sunset with the Denver Broncos. Which ones come to your mind as far as final seasons or final games or final moments? Doing this sort of it's kind of funny, but it's also a fun, neat little thing to think about. Weldon, what do you got?
I had to think about this, and of course the Michael Jordan shot over Byron Russell. That's the first one that comes to mind. I figured that one would be popular, so I would go a different direction. I've got to go, and it's painful for me to think about this because it's the last time this player has had ultimate success to his liking. I'm going back to Torrey Pines, the 2008 U.S. Open. Tiger Woods was down by one stroke heading into the final hole. He needed to make a birdie putt from about 12 feet to force a playoff. It had a little bit of break, but not as much break as it could have on that tough 18 at Torrey Pines. Imagine it. Hands are shaking, the nerves. You know winning majors is what you do if you're Tiger Woods. That's all you care about. You've got to make a 12-footer. We know about some 5-footers that can get kind of testy under pressure. A 12-footer, absolutely. Tiger had to hit this with a broken leg. He had to make it to force a playoff the next day. He made it. You saw the double fist pump. And then, of course, he had to grind on a Monday to win the U.S. Open against Rocco Mediate. That 12-foot putt was ultra clutch. It was ultra Tiger Woods. And that is my ultimate closing moment, Tiger Woods in the 08 U.S. Open.
I could have gone with Jordan. Thought about going with Elway. But I'm going to go with my new hero, LeBron James. Game 7s in his career. I mean, what's this guy done in his career? He's won 2 straight NBA championships, won all these MVPs, won 2 finals MVPs. And although I know he made some big mistakes in the finals and nearly cost him the game in, I guess it was Game 6, and Ray Allen sort of bailed him out. Game 7, he comes out and puts it out there, puts it on the line, wins the championship. I have to give LeBron some credit. I feel like years from now we're going to look back and see LeBron James as one of the best players of all time, and we're going to say, man, remember those days when it came down to Game 6 and Game 7 instead of, what we would remember before last year where LeBron's a
Right.
choke artist and he can't get it done to, you remember all the way back to 2004 when whenever it was,
Danielle.
when he did this or when he did
Oh,
that
yeah,
early on in his career, and in the playoffs he had like 28 points in a row against the Pistons or whatever it was, and he did all these things. It was just the beginning of this legacy. I feel like LeBron James, we're going to look back years from now, we're going to be very, very astonished by the career that he's had.
It's really interesting that you bring that up because I think no player is going to benefit more from history than LeBron James. And everybody's legacy is elevated to a degree through history, but LeBron James is because you look at how we micro-analyze him now and just nitpick him here or there. And it's only because, he puts up huge stats, but he doesn't win. Well, now he's starting to sandwich championships to go with those numbers he put up early in the year. And when we look back 20 years from now, we're not going to care that, he only did this against Orlando and Boston. He couldn't get past them. All you're going to see is those amazing stats smashed together with championships and MVPs to make his legacy, because it's even started now. I looked back at that 2009 playoff series when, of course, they were upset by the Orlando Magic and they just shot them out, just hit threes from anywhere. LeBron James was putting up triple-double type numbers consistently in that series just to keep him in it, just to get it to 6 games. It seems like they had a hard time even forcing 6 games. So that legacy thing's already starting to come into play.
Yeah, LeBron, he's incredible. All right, let's look at some Hog Talk stuff real quickly. You said the top 25 has out.
Yeah.
Arkansas conveniently gets 1 vote, and Brett Bielema has a vote in the top 25 poll. A lot of people think Arkansas's own coach voted for his squad in the top 25. I wouldn't blame him if he did. Of course,
Yeah.
I know they're not that good, but he has confidence in his own guys. There could have been somebody else, though. It'd even be funnier, I think, if another coach decided to vote for Arkansas.
Yeah, that would be funny. The coaches poll is out, and Arkansas did get a vote. You look through it, Mark, not a ton of surprises. Of course, Alabama number 1, Ohio State coming off their sanctions number 2. To round out the top 5, Oregon, Stanford, and Georgia. Nothing that really shakes you there. Johnny Football and A&M at 6, South Carolina at 7. The SEC marked 5 teams ranked in the top 25. Texas, I guess just because they're Texas, they have to put them at 15, even though they haven't really proven anything. I don't see anything outlandish. Look at a Clemson team and a Louisville team at 8 and 9. Those are 2 teams that people expect to maybe break through and get there, but we'll have to see. The top 25, pretty standard in the coaches poll.
Yeah, as far as the rankings go, I don't have a whole lot of beef with it. I don't know. Maddie and I talked about this yesterday. I don't know that Ohio State's the second best team in the country.
I agree.
But I don't know where else you can rank them based on the schedule they're going to play. They're going to go undefeated. There's nobody in that schedule that's going to beat them. I can see Stanford could beat them. Georgia would beat them. Texas A&M would probably beat them. Maybe South Carolina, but that's at least 3. And then I had 4. I'm trying to think. Maybe it was Florida. Maybe it was South Carolina that I had that I think would beat Ohio State if they played straight up. Alabama, 58 of the 61 to 62 votes. They could have been unanimous.
Les Miles thinks it was unanimous, this vote. He thinks this vote was unanimous already. The fact that Alabama got all the first place votes, in his mind, it's unanimous because he doesn't understand that you have to have everybody voting one way for it to be
He thinks
unanimous.
because they had the lead, it was unanimous?
Yeah, well, the
He's
coaches,
not real smart.
They had the winter coaches meeting, and he said, "Yeah, we."
It was unanimous. It was
us
a 13 to
coaches
1
voted
vote.
13 to 1 unanimously for this.
That's so funny.
Les
Miles, poor
dog.
guy.
But I would, again, you're looking at the poll here. Notre Dame at 11, quarterback issues. You may question that. I definitely do. Ohio State, you're right about them. Really, that was the ugliest undefeated season I've ever seen in my life. That team was sloppy. That team was disorganized. Defense and missed tackles. That was not a very good undefeated football team last year. If they play like that this upcoming year, even with that schedule, they'll lose a couple of games. But I think Urban Meyer will have them a little bit tighter and a little bit more ready. But I'm not a big Ohio State believer myself.
No, they've got Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan. I think I counted 4 quote-unquote losable games. I feel like they'll beat Notre Dame. Penn State will be a challenge, and Michigan, that's always a big one. And then now they've got a Big Ten championship game today.
Yeah, championship game.
They
so
could
maybe
match
there's
up with
something there.
Michigan again.
Yeah, then they're going to Cal. Sonny Dykes will have that offense ready, but defensively, I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Braxton Miller.
Couple other things. You mentioned Razorbacks looking good at the next level. Jason Kilburn tweets in and says that Alvin Bailey's looking good at offensive tackle there. I guess it's in Seattle.
Seahawks, yeah.
And DeMarcus Love,
Yeah.
former Razorback, suspended for 4 games for a performance-enhancing drug. His representation is saying that he took a sleep aid that gave him a performance enhancer. I don't really know how that works, but
Yeah, but the medicine cabinet, the bathroom's probably dark. You grab it in the medicine cabinet.
you grab for that
yeah,
PED.
You grabbed the wrong thing. That's all.
It was clearly labeled PED, and you took it. I don't know. Oh, Lord. All right, a couple other things we want to hit real quickly. You go to ArkansasRazorbacks.com. You can see that they're pushing right now to vote the Hog Call as the top tradition on the Sirius XM College Sports Tradition Tournament. I know that Arkansas fans will turn out for that, especially if it gets to Hogville. Everybody and their mama will see it if it goes to hogville.net, and everybody will go vote on it. That'll be very interesting. Also, if you haven't seen the video from Razorback Stadium, the 75th anniversary of Razorback Stadium, it's a really cool little video loop there that shows from the beginning to now. Also, football season single game tickets are going to start being available next week, so it's just about time. And as it's just about time, Weldon, you get to see pictures, and Maddie's going to put these up, of the transformation that's taking place, not only in the stadium, but in the players.
Right.
Ben Herbert, you've called him more than once. He's my dog. He's my boy.
Yeah.
He's putting some work in on the hill. Got guys like Kiro Small and Bray Cook who are just looking completely jacked and completely different under Ben Herbert. He's doing some good things. And as Maddie and I made a joke about yesterday, we may not be very good next year, but you're going to know you've played.
Well, the thing with Ben Herbert, and I'm not easily swayed or easily convinced on anything. And certainly the Wisconsin YouTube video that Ben Herbert put up, it just struck a chord with me. And normally those things don't, but the way he described transformance, that's the word he's created. And he believes in just taking your body and just give him your best. So just give him your best, and he'll transform your body and your performance. And I like the demonstration he had with the 2 plants. You've seen the video with the 2 plants, and one of them they gave water and nutrients to, and it was nice and green. Another one they took like Doritos and poured it in there and stuff like that. I think they even poured some alcoholic beverages in there, and then after a month or so, it was all wilted, and the nice plant with the water, it was all grown up. And he's got the philosophy of you can't out-train a bad diet. I think a lot of us have that issue. We work our tails off, then we go eat that big meal, and as Coach Herbert says, you can't out-train a bad diet. He is the real deal. I've said this for months. I believe in Ben Herbert. He is getting these kids' body right for a physical style of play and a physical conference.
And you can see these pictures that Maddie's putting up of Kiro Small, who, granted, he was probably a little out of shape because of the fact that he was injured and he wasn't playing last year. But in January, he looked a little round, a little pudgy, and then Lacy. He doesn't anymore. Yeah, a little Eddie Lacy. If you've seen that picture, Alabama former running back now playing for Green Bay, they took a picture, and I actually heard that was a back pad that had wrapped around, and because they showed another picture of him from the front on the other side, and he looked completely different. So it was a little bit misleading. But yeah, Kiro Small, is a picture of him standing there in his tights, and he's just standing there, and he looks a little round. He's got some muscle, but not a whole lot of definition. And then next picture, blah, just jacked. And then there's a picture of Bray Cook, and he's got this little 5 o'clock shadow going, and he's kind of, he's all right looking.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of muscle. And then the next one, full man beard, and just completely jacked out of his mind. Looks like a bouncer at a nightclub, and he's going to go bounce some folks this year. I'm looking forward to seeing the transformation. What did you call it? Transformance on the field. Because really, that's going to be what it is. It's going to be a transforming performance on the field. I like that, Ben.
And Coach Bielema was adamant. He told Jeff Long, he's like, okay, I'll take the job, but you got to let me hire a couple of people. I think Chris Hauser was one of them to run the operations. You got to let me bring Ben Herbert down here. Those are two things I have to have: a head football coach and a strength coach. They have a very close relationship. Coach Bielema, he says it all the time. I tell mom and dad, this guy can touch the players, 365 days a year, even when I can't. This is the guy your son's going to be spending the most time with. So that relationship is important, and I think Coach Herbert's got one of the best. I've pegged him early on. It's like, this dude is for real, and I think it's going to pay dividends.
It's looking good. All right, well, that's all the time we've got for Weldon's career here in studio. We'll try to get him back whenever he comes around, maybe for holidays or whatever, and we'll try to get him on the phone. Going to try to see what we're going to do. I mean, I've been working behind the scenes to try to figure out how we're going to host this Sports Blitz. We want to continue to bring you the latest in local sports, but if you want to say goodbye to Weldon, we're going to Mulan's at 12:30, so just come on by and say hi. We've got a Facebook status that's on the River Valley Leader page, facebook.com/RVL News. You can go tell Weldon how much you hate him. No, go tell him, wish him well, and tell him how much you appreciate what he's done for the Sports Blitz. Weldon, it's been a very, very good pleasure, joy to work with you. Don't make me cry now.
Just short of a year, August 27th was our first show. We started doing pre-productions on August 20th, so just a year shy. Love my year here at the River Valley Leader in studio. Look forward to doing more work, be it correspondence, whatever it may be. I'm excited about it. This business, everything is going perfectly, and I'm just glad I could be a part of it.
He's going to tear it up there in Minnesota. You'll be hearing about him here in a little while. I hope he doesn't forget about us little people.
I will not, because it's going to be cold.
That's exactly. He's going to need some help. All right, well, that's all the time we've got for the Sports Blitz today. We'll be back as soon as we can. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, and somebody in this seat. You guys wish Weldon well on Facebook, or come by Mulan's 12:30 and hang out with us. We'll see you later.